Hey, Mateo.
Hey, good evening.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Hi, Alan. It's like you're there, Alan. How's the wildlife out back, Mateo?
You know,
Love your videos.
the other day I went out so I have 4 cameras back there, and I had one that was filled with 300 photos of a squirrel just running around. It was the most disappointing. But yeah, I
That's pretty funny.
was hoping to get a bear by now.
Yeah.
Last year we got one around this time.
Have you gotten any moose?
Yeah, we actually have seen a moose twice in person back there.
Hmm.
And I've got a couple on the cameras a couple of times, one this year. Boy, they are awkward looking creatures.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen one here. I've seen one up on the road, on Wendell Road, but not for a while.
Just yesterday turned on the solar panels on our house. It's been very exciting.
Oh, exciting.
Hey, Alan.
Had them for about four years. So did you have to cut a lot of trees? Because your lot is pretty wooded, isn't it?
It is, but the people that were living here before us took a lot of the big trees that were around the house down. We ended up putting some panels on our shed barn kind of structure as well, and that one has some trees that we need to take down. 3 trees, I think, but it's nothing compared to what we have. I think it's fine.
Great.
All right. Here's Elaine.
Hi, Mateo. Hi, Rita.
Hey, Elaine. Hi, Elaine.
Elaine.
Hi. I just heard from Cliff that Arlene was just getting out of surgery, and so he will not make it to the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, her surgery was at 1 o'clock, but
No.
didn't get done until 3:30.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Henry.
Oh,
Hello, hello.
yeah, who? Oh, hi, Caroline. How are you? What? Oh, Caroline, I'm sorry. Oh, geez. What was the problem?
I think we have a crisis going on here.
Yeah. Can you mute him? Just so
Yeah,
we can
I
have
just
this
did.
conversation. Okay.
Beth is unable to join us because of a Conservation Commission
All right.
meeting. So it is just the fabulous 5 some of us. It is a quorum. Ken Kahn was supposed to be joining us as well, but he is not in the waiting room.
Where is Ken going to be from?
What's that?
Where is Ken going to be representing?
Ken is on the Affordable Housing Trust in Leverett.
Oh, right.
And I had asked him if he would join us just to talk about some ideas about what Leverett has done with their CPA funding for affordable housing purposes. But we have a quorum, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. I don't know whether he'll be able to join us or not, but we still have that conversation. So this meeting is being held virtually. All the members are participating remotely. Rita Farrell, Matteo Pangallo, Alan Hansen, Elaine Paleo, and Henry Geddes. So the first item on the agenda is review of the minutes from,
I apologize that I had the wrong date on them.
okay, that's what to say.
I saw that. I was trying to find them and I realized what I had done. You caught me cheating. I used the old minutes as a template.
Is there a motion?
Yes, I just can't remember the date. I did review them. Was it September
September
21st?
21st.
21st. Okay, I move that we approve the minutes of September 21st, 2023.
I want to correct Beth Wilson's name.
Two
Yes,
L's.
I did that. 2 L's.
She
Okay.
did, yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Also Farrell is misspelled in the, in
Two-
item
I
one.
wasn't gonna. I
Farrell's
have two L's
misspelled?
too. It's not
I-
just Beth who has two L's. I have them.
Man, I thought I had all those L's in there. Okay, sorry.
A
Sorry.
lot of L's on the committee.
I will add those L's before I send them in.
Second,
All right, Henry is seconded. Any discussion beyond the those corrections of spelling?
Nope.
All right, seeing none, we'll vote on the minutes as slightly amended. Farrell,
I,
Paleo,
Aye.
Geddes,
Aye.
Hanson,
still on the phone.
still on the phone.
We are going to need his eye.
Well, we have four, right?
Yeah, we have four. We
have
haven't
four.
if he abstains.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can abstain. Okay.
Sorry, a second. Alan Hansen. Seeing no vote, I'll consider that an abstention. Pangallo, aye.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item, and I wanted to do it first because I was hoping Ken would be with us, and I didn't want to take up too much of his time, but I asked him to join us so that we could hear a little bit about what Leverett has done with their CPA funding for affordable housing. Obviously, they have a very different system. They've been, I guess, in the CPA a lot longer. They get a lot more of a match because of when they voted it in. But from my conversations with him, my understanding, and any of you, please feel free to correct me. My understanding is that Leverett was looking for a way to better implement their CPA funding for affordable housing purposes beyond just building buildings, which obviously is the ideal thing to do if you're going to address problems with supply and demand. You need to increase supply. But what Leverett has done with their CPA funding was they set up an affordable housing trust. They also have an affordable housing committee, which are actually the same thing, though I guess they are technically different. It's essentially the same. The committee runs the trust. And they have programs organized around, they had rental assistance and mortgage and down payment assistance programs to improve the affordability of living in Leverett. I was hoping to ask Ken about whether or not people avail themselves of these programs, or if this is merely a sort of, it feels good to have it out there kind of thing. I don't know if any of you have any ideas about or any knowledge of Leverett's situation, but
Yeah, no, I don't know, although I recall seeing somewhere, I don't know if I looked at their website, that they were looking for a lot more money. So maybe they had spent what they had initially allocated. But maybe we could check their website to see if they talk about accomplishments. So I did a little bit of checking on my own. I actually spoke with a former colleague of mine today, who provides technical assistance to housing trusts. And, she said that that some communities have been pretty successful. I know Williamstown is one of them that's done a lot of down payment assistance and actually principal buy down, so that they provide, I can't remember what the amount is in Williamstown, but a chunk of money. And I believe in Leverett, it might have been up to $50,000. I believe Amherst has done something similar to make houses affordable for a first-time home buyer. And typically what's done is that there's a deed restriction then put on the property, so that the property cannot be resold it has to be resold to another affordable home buyer. But this is what I used to do. I mean, I didn't do this specifically, but I used to work in affordable housing. What Shelley Gehring, my former colleague, told me is that they're actually putting together a guide for communities as to, different ways that you could use the CPA money for first-time home buyers. So there's an income restriction at 100% of area median income. The property has to be deed restricted. And for small towns like ours, and I know for Leverett, they actually contracted with the Franklin County Housing and Redevelopment Authority to administer the program, so that the Regional Housing Authority does all the intake and all the administration, because it's really difficult for a volunteer committee to do it. So it's something we could do in Shutesbury. We don't have a lot of CPA money in the housing line, but you can go above and beyond what's in the housing line for the kind of general fund. And we could set something like that up, and we could ask somebody from Franklin County, who administers the Leverett program, to come and talk to us about how they, what would be required in order for us to do this. But we'd have to go back to town meeting. I think, right, what's our balance in the housing category? So it was like 50 something thousand.
Let's see. Community housing. So here, well, this is as of February of this past year was 44,153.
Yeah.
The undesignated fund is 379,699.
So we would have to go to town meeting. If we wanted to really make this a program, I would say we would want town meeting to approve additional funds if we really wanted to set it up and be able to help. Because what's happened over time is the costs have gone up so significantly. And so you have to have a sufficient amount of money to write down the purchase price, so that a family whose maximum 100% of AMI can afford to buy a house.
Mm.
So all those kind of calculations would actually be helpful if we knew if we had an example of, say, from Leverett was, what was, they probably set a maximum purchase price and then a maximum amount of subsidy.
Yeah.
Maybe based on the purchase price, and perhaps based on what the family's income was too.
Do you know who it was at Franklin County?
Who set the program up, Elaine?
No, who was running it for,
I don't know. I know the director there, Gina Gavoni, who actually used to work for me years ago. So I mean, we can find out from them, but I don't know who on their staff is the point person on this.
would she be the one to contact to start?
Yeah, I mean, I could get in touch with her and ask her who on her staff, could come and talk to us. The other thing I think I had emailed you, Matteo, was just the name. So Shelley Gehring, who again was my former colleague. She's worked with a lot of housing trusts in setting up programs. I mean, we don't need to have a housing trust in Shutesbury. It is a way of having a group that specifically deals with housing, and what many CPCs have done is encourage the creation of a housing trust. But for such a small community, it's like trying to do have another committee, and I don't know, it seems sort of daunting, and we don't have that much money. So I think we could encourage maybe the housing authority to come forward if we expressed interest, that they could be the applicant. Or I know we say we don't submit applications or sponsor applications ourselves, but this could be an exception to that, where we made a decision that this was something that was worthwhile, and I don't know, maybe do it jointly with Franklin County. I'm not exactly sure what the best way to do it is, but I do know that there would probably be demand here if there's enough people who are looking to buy, who are just cut out, young families trying to get started buying their first house. So kind of getting those numbers would be really good. And I guess I could volunteer to do some of the research if you want, if the committee thinks that makes sense, to kind of find out exactly, and maybe talk to Williamstown too, about how they set their program up, because I'm sure they have program guidelines and limits on purchase price. And I think my recollection, and this is something I haven't looked at recently, that 100% of area median income in Shutesbury was something in the neighborhood of, don't quote me because I'm not absolutely sure, but I thought it was something in the neighborhood of $65,000 for a household of 4. Wow. So that just gives you a sense, and that's the absolute maximum. And I do know that a lot of households looking to get a mortgage there's some state programs, including a program that Mass Housing Partnership has, which is a lower down payment that's typical. There's no mortgage insurance. Again, it's for first-time home buyers, and it's wonderful if it can be used with some sort of down payment assistance or principal write down. So what Shelley told me today was, the city of Boston has piloted a program where they're using their CPA funds with this mortgage product, that is a low down payment and no mortgage insurance. And it's really, they're targeting people who already live in the city of Boston, because so many renters there can't afford to rent anymore, no less try and own their own home. So, but I don't believe most communities do have any kind of a preference for a local preference, so that you have to already, in this sort of a program, so that you already have to be living, in town. But those are all the kinds of things that would have to be shaped with the program, you know, what the guidelines are. So it would be great to have to have Leverett as a, you know, at least to look at that and see if it's something that would make sense for Shutesbury.
Leverett's is one of the ones that does have it says preference will be given to applicants who live or work in Leverett or the parent or child of a current Leverett resident. But it just says preference. It doesn't say that it's like a requirement of any kind.
Right.
I mean, I mean, I think that if it involves, you know, moving some of the undesignated fund balance into community housing or asking for like a warrant article that takes a portion of that money and puts it in whatever trust, you know, the folks at Franklin say that this would need. My sense is I understand what you're saying, that it's not going to be a lot of money, and so it's not going to be tremendously helpful for a family buying a house in this community, given the prices, but it's still going to be something.
Oh,
Whereas,
definitely.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas if we're waiting to you know, do another Habitat for Humanity house, that's going to help one. That's going to be putting a lot of money towards helping one person or one family.
Right.
I think it would probably be preferable to give at least a little bit to as many people as we can.
Absolutely.
Rather than wait and, you know, and build another house at some point.
The
So.
other thing that has been done with under the community housing heading is rental assistance. So in that case, you know, the state and the federal government both have their own rental assistance programs, but a number of communities have that, you know, it's so limited that some communities have used their CPA money for that. I don't know how much rental housing we have in Shutesbury. You know, how many units are rented anymore.
I used to be a renter here.
Yeah.
Mike, my question about that, Rita, is you maybe have a better sense of this, is are there ways to control so that my worry would be if that additional assistance were available to tenants, that might prompt landlords then to sort of actually increase the rent if they know that there's this source that these people can turn to make up the difference.
Yeah, so typically you set the, you know, the upper rent limit. Again, it's what's affordable to a family at whatever you set it at. Let's say you set it at 80% of AMI, then the rents can go no higher than that. So those are, you know, those also take a lot of structuring and documentation. During the peak of COVID, Amherst did use some of their, I'm not sure if they were, I guess they were using some of their CPA funds to do a kind of emergency rental assistance program.
Rita, could you tell me what AMI means?
It's area median income.
Thank you.
So it's published by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and it's done annually. So you can just do a search and you can, you know, see you get readouts by county and then by family size.
Okay.
And they typically will, some of the charts will show what is 50% of area median income. They'll do 60, 80% and 100%. Because across different housing programs, they use different income limits.
How might we find out how many people rent in the town?
I think it's you know, it's in the census, Henry. I believe it's there, and I don't know whether or not I know during non-census years that there's, and it might just be in a 5-year update, there's something called there's a community survey done just to update things. So they do a sampling, but yeah, that would be worth knowing, as you know, if we're if we're looking at, does it make sense to do rental assistance? Should we do a,
Well, but the assessors would know how many rental properties are available.
I don't know if they, do
They
they keep
should.
that information?
They should, because that your
Well, you're
tax
paying-
base is based on income from those properties. I'll check with April. She's an assessor.
Yeah, check and see. But we could also look at the, at the last census.
Mhm.
I guess I ask because there may be also more details to it that, for instance, female head of households.
I'm having
Mhm.
trouble hearing you. I'm sorry. Can you just speak a little louder?
Sorry, no, another detail here might be finding out how many female head of households there are.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
And I actually know one on West Pelham, a Black woman, who rents a place that is, borderline,
Mhm,
As
Yep.
far as I've been in the place before.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and with a rental, one of the things with the rental assistance program, were we to do that, we would need to make a decision about the house passing a minimum standard, and housing quality standard, because I mean, we certainly don't want to be in the business of subsidizing a landlord who whose property might not be up to code. So, that's again something that you want to, would need to be built into the program. But it certainly could give people options, for moving somewhere else. Let's say they were in a substandard apartment, then with some subsidy, they could afford to, have rent a better place.
I was just going to say, we want to be sure that it's a fine line that we're walking, because we don't want to get them out of housing that they currently have,
Right,
just knowing that it's substandard.
right,
It's still housing.
right.
And that's a fine line as to, where you draw it.
Mhm. Yeah, so maybe what I can do, or I will do, is do a little bit more research, and if it makes sense, to try to get that out to everybody before the next meeting. So just do a summary of kind of what different programs might look like, and I'll gather as much information as I can. Both, yeah, if you can find out, Elaine, on the rental side, and look at the income limits and just what some other communities have done. Does that sound reasonable? I mean, my concern is, if we were going to try to do something for this year, we don't have a whole lot of time. We have, I think I recall our determination of eligibility was something like December 4th. Was
That's
that
correct.
right?
Yeah.
And then applications due that first week in February.
Yeah. February 5th.
Right.
So,
So on this, would we would require each of the tenants or people who are looking to purchase a home, we would require each one of them to apply? Or could we put together a blanket application in a way ourselves that we would provide rental assistance?
Are you saying
Yeah.
apply to us? Apply to the CPC?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no,
I think
guess
somebody has to administer it for us.
somebody has
Yeah.
to administer
That's what,
it. and
yeah.
I think I think our committee's job is to
Right.
vote to set aside this pot of money for this particular program. Provided that, whoever it is in Franklin or whatever, is going to administer it, and then that body creates their own applications for
Right.
rental program or down payment program or whatever. When
So,
we don't
so you're saying that they would apply and not each of the individual applicants?
apply to
That's
us.
correct.
Right.
The way Leverett set up
Yes.
their trust was they did a town meeting article to do an initial funding amount of, I think it was like 250,000 for the initial funding. And then like 10 years later or something, they went back and the Affordable Housing Trust Committee applied to the CPC for an additional 100,000 or something because they needed to replenish what they had.
Okay.
But the
Okay,
CPC itself doesn't handle the application.
No, but I was thinking it would be daunting for each of the individual tenants or people applying for home ownership that they would do it, but it would be the housing authority that would do it for them.
Well, the tenants would apply to the housing authority under the program, so they would do all the
Right.
screening, the income screening, and they
Right,
would
but-
administer the funds.
But what I'm saying is taking money from us,
Mhm.
giving us set aside money, it would be the housing authority that
Yes.
does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would have to have like a
Yeah.
warrant article for every single person. And that would-
Exactly.
insane.
That's what I was worried about.
Okay,
all right,
well, I
so
will
Elaine,
take that
Rita,
on.
you guys will look into the,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will, I'll find out who the person is at Franklin County, and then,
Okay.
would you want somebody to come to our next meeting, maybe with Ken, if he's still available? Would that be
yeah, I mean, the next meeting is just to answer questions from potential applicants. And I imagine that we can handle that pretty quickly. So I think having more of this conversation at that meeting would make sense.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Um,
What is
that-
the date of our next meeting? Just so,
November 16th.
that's my birthday.
Ooh.
Okay,
All right, let's move on. If there's no other conversation on this point. The next item on our agenda, which is the Community Preservation Plan revision. I hope you had a chance to look through it. Beth sent me a couple of additions for that section on the recreation page. And yeah, I'll just open the floor to any responses or comments about revisions that you saw or revisions you didn't see that you want to see.
Do you have Beth's?
So the one that I sent out this morning has Beth's
Yep.
changes, which was just
Okay.
the addition on page, oops, I think I just scrolled past it. On page 6 in the recreation profile section, adding Topville Lake Conservation Area, Cove Road parcel, and Houston Gage Conservation Area.
oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So the only question I had, and maybe this is one for Henry, there were a couple of things added on the historic section. Didn't print it out, but talking about stone walls and other, historic. I can't remember, there was like a sentence that
Stone
said,
structures, foundations, cellular holes, walls, town pond, and Native American structures.
right, so, oh, there's Ken.
I can.
So I was wondering, Henry, was that something that the Historic Commission had added, or who added that?
I didn't add it, but it looks
No, I-
fine to me.
Okay,
I think that was my addition.
okay.
The only place, I mean, it reads much better. The only place that I think you corrected this or added something, and it was a reference. There's a number referring in the chart. There's a reference support, and then there's a 1 next to it. Did you follow where I am?
What page are you on?
Oh yeah, the one that's a footnote on that page.
Chart number 1. There are no page numbers on the original here. The support, and there's a 1 next to it, and I think you
Oh, right.
added the relevant reference. Is that correct?
The relevant reference, I think it was in the one originally.
Yep.
Yeah, down at the bottom is that footnote, yeah.
I for some reason on my copy it didn't show up. But
Pull this up. This is what it should look like.
Yeah.
So the point of inquiry that I had for everyone was especially about, sorry, I'm scrolling quickly. So the feedback that we got from the cemetery commission was about the sense that there seemed to be some duplication of questions in the application. So I added the exit survey, the optional exit survey to a description of the process. In the application itself, there we go. Here we go. So this item 4A, how does the community benefit from this project? Struck me as that might have been what seemed to Walter as being repetitive, because it seemed to me to echo the goals section about who will benefit and why.
True.
So we could just eliminate that, right? If it's redundant.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel like it's a good idea to keep this B.
Yeah.
Before A could probably then just go, right? And streamline it.
Sure.
And then the other item was the budget chart at the start of 6 is the same as it's the same essentially as the same information as the chart that we have on the first page. And I know, I think at least that the reason it was put on the first page was to have like a cover sheet where you could quickly just look and see the information. But I don't know whether that merits keeping it or not. So
I think that was the original intent, Matteo, and I would be in favor of keeping it.
Yeah.
keeping it. Okay.
It's a good summary page.
All right. Those are my 2 questions. Did anyone else have thoughts about the revisions that you saw or didn't see?
They look good.
They do look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were all fine.
Well, in that case, I'll ask for a motion to approve the revised community preservation plan. Including, oh, thank you.
I'll second.
All right. We'll vote on it. Geddes.
Aye.
Puleo.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Farrell.
Aye.
Pengallo. Aye. And so what I'll do is, now that we have that determination of eligibility form and application form approved, I'll put those up on the website. And I'm also going to send out a town announce email indicating that it's application season.
Okay.
Send your ideas. Ken is with us now. Let's double back to item 2 and just address any questions we might have for him about Leverett's Affordable Housing Trust. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you, and I apologize sincerely for being late,
No.
but I'm here.
Thank you for joining us. That's the important thing. Yeah, were there questions from members of the committee about what Leverett's got going on?
Well, I could ask a few questions based, we started the discussion without you, Ken, but maybe if you could describe sort of the basic structure of the homebuyer assistance program that you have, who's served, the amount of money per household, and what income levels you use.
First of all, we use the Springfield medium income levels, and we use 100%.
Mhm.
The reason we use 100%, not 80%, is basically we want it to be affordable for the buyer and not out of the buyer's economic range. And we understand we're not checking the box of making it within a 10% category that a lower than 80% mean income would reach. So we have two programs. One, they were both set up quite a while ago, and in my opinion, successful, but the success related to the times at which they were created.
Mhm.
So when we set it up, there were, I don't know, 20 or more homes for sale in Leverett. I have a number in my head of 32, of which 16 were affordable. We use the definition of affordable as the average mean or median. The average, you use the assessed valuation because we didn't want to go above the average assessed valuation in town. And at that time, we used 250,000. We lent people up to 20% of the purchase price. And the beauty of that, in exchange for a covenant, the beauty of that meant they could get a portfolio loan from a local lender because they already had 80%, it was an 80% loan to value. We had talked to most of the local lenders and they bought into the program. It had to be portfolio because they were not secondary market with the covenants that were on the property on resale. And the covenant basically was that you can only sell it to somebody who is a eligible person, which is the same income criteria. Let's say this so on a $250,000 house, we could give $50,000. And if the house doubled in 20 years to 500,000, the person could only sell it on the same percentage increase of the 200, which was his purchase price. So therefore they could
Wait,
sell the
wait,
price.
Could you
They-
say that again, please? Could you go
Sure.
through that again, please?
Okay, there's a maximum resale price. And I don't have notes in front of me, so I'm playing blind here. But hypothetically, if we had a person bought a $250,000 house,
Mhm.
we gave them $50,000 for the purchase. In exchange for that $50,000 purchase, the town got a covenant that the house would be forever affordable, could only be sold to an income eligible buyer. The beauty of that was that it was an 80% loan to value with our 50,000 in, so local banks would give loans, a 30-year fixed loan, and keep it in their portfolio.
Right.
On sale, let's take this really simple, and I'll complicate it later, which is always my pleasure. But if it's a 500, in 20 years, if the house is worth 500,000 in the open market, because of the covenant, the income eligible buyer, if he's selling it, sells it for 400, is his maximum resale price. In other words, in essence, the same percentage increase, or in this case, a doubling of the 250, and the market is 500 without the covenant, but the seller only gets the increase based on the 200 that he paid in.
Got it.
But
Okay.
that 200 is the seller's equity like anybody else. Now that assumes a doubling of the price. And then to make it a little more complicated, it's really based on an average income increase, inflationary index rather than price, but it's easier to talk price. And I don't think, I'm not going to say what the difference is. I can't go there. But that would keep it affordable forever. And we made 4 loans under that program. The difficulty now is obviously with price appreciation, there's pretty much no inventory.
So what are you doing now?
All right, so we've got two, well, that's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Uh, we have screamed for everybody to try to find programs that work. It's very, very hard. Obviously, you have the same situation. You have pretty much no town center. I don't want to insult your town, but we have no real walkable town center. No smart growth criteria, no transportation, no old mill building that could be resurrected. So you don't really meet a lot of the criterias that make a lot of sense. So you have to work with what you've got. We have another program that we've used on only one house, which allowed 5% down, but it was a straight loan that basically went away after 15 years, I believe, without looking. So on a $100,000 house, that'd be an additional 5%, which enabled these people to make their down payment. There was no affordable housing covenant in that, and that's forever affordable.
So you're saying that you don't have anything actually now that is working under this program?
That's correct. We're looking at the hypothetical and trying to understand if 5-acre parcel of land came up, what could we do on that land? And, you know, could it be a 6-family house that went condo, co-op? We don't have answers to that. We're thinking of raising the maximum purchase price to 250, but it's so far out of whack that I think even staying under these programs, it doesn't really work today. I'm not sure that today's real estate situation is going to be there long term. I mean, nobody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume you have an affordable housing committee. Is that right?
No.
No.
Okay. And I assume then it's pretty clear to me you don't have an affordable housing trust.
Correct.
So that you can't have the trust without the committee, as far as I know. But it would seem to me, I can't, and basically all of these programs that have been generated, the ones that have been closed, all came from the Affordable Housing Committee to the CPC. I cannot personally see how you could generate programs without a dedicated committee that is doing nothing but affordable housing discussions and wheel spinnings and presenting to you something that they say they would like to get funded. My guess is you might have come to the same conclusion. I think there would be an impossible burden on you guys to wear both hats.
Yeah, I don't think we could wear both hats. One of the things we were contemplating, you know, first, like having another committee in town is just a little daunting. Many of us sit on more than one committee, and as you well know, in a town, you know, Shutesbury, 1,700 people, it just gets kind of absurd after a while, and you can't find people. So one thing we had talked about is whether or not, I mean, I know you had Franklin County Housing and Redevelopment Authority administer your program, correct?
Right, and the beauty of the program, right, actually, yes. It's not the FERCOG, it's really the Housing and Rehabilitation.
Yeah, it's the housing authority, the county housing authority, right?
And the beauty of the programs we did is we don't have to go back and inspect. In other words, the theory was these are the buyers' houses.
Right.
People have come to me and said, well, where are they? And I would say, that's the beautiful thing about the program. They're Leverett residents, and they're not living in an area that's designated 6 affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel we've done that 6 affordable sort of, in this case 4, spread out throughout town and not in one location.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know that you did a habitat house.
Right,
But in that case, it was a land bought for 27,000 by a private individual on a sale to Habitat.
right.
We don't have any municipal, well, so we tried that program a long time ago and were shut down when we had the land. Because at that time, Habitat was not making the type of loan they made to you. They didn't want an investment in infrastructure. They didn't want to do raw land. So we're looking at Habitat possibly, but we don't have any municipal land that we could do. And we don't have a patron willing to sell that we know of in that price range. And lots and Leverett are going in the 100 range.
Yeah,
We are looking at raising the median income, but I don't think that's going to be real fruitful, given the median house prices for the program. Because the spread is just so great. There are just so few houses on the market. As I'm sure you have a similar circumstance.
do you have any rental assistance program?
Not under the Affordable Housing Committee.
Okay,
Did you ever explore that, doing rental assistance?
Not that I can remember, but I think it's a good idea, and I think I could learn as much, maybe coming back again. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least, I know it's been done in other communities, so we're gonna look at what the alternatives might be to doing some sort of affordable housing program here.
And that qualifies as forever.
Yeah, you can do it, there has to be a lease. There are a bunch of, conditions that in order for it to be, to use the CPA funds to do it, but it can be done. But most communities gravitate towards new production, building, and then using CPA, getting a CPA contribution towards either building rental housing or home ownership, or do what Leverett's done, and that is a principal write down in order to make it affordable for a family to purchase. But you're right, the inventory is really low and the prices are really high. So,
And those two things don't help the affordability
right,
options, obviously.
right.
What about, quick question for you. What about cooperative housing? Is there any experience with that or discussion about that?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by cooperative. In other words, are we talking about a condominium structure
Maybe.
of like 6 units or so?
Yeah, could be, or large house where a number of people, families may live. I don't know.
I'm a little, are we talking multi-unit or a single house with one, is it 6 kitchens or 3,
Oh, yeah.
kitchens equal to the number of units?
Well, it could be either. It could be separate structures, or it could be one, I suppose. Cooperative housing, it's a phenomenon. I don't know.
I guess we were gravitating against that because we wanted something that had basically no monitoring, no town board to do future observation and make sure the rules and regulations were abided by. I personally have no objection. I love the concept, but you're talking sort of a 40B, that a developer can put up 6 units of which 1 or 2 is affordable. And we had looked at that to get around the zoning problems, and actually looked at working a deal with a couple different developers. Though nothing has, it seems to me you have to be flexible, because the situations we've looked at are all totally different. Some might be some lots in a small subdivision to allow the subdivision to go forward under the affordable under the 40B program, which is basically, as Rita, I'm sure, you all probably know, allows zoning to be overridden if it's an affordable development. And that has a lot of possibilities, I think.
Yeah, the biggest, and maybe it's not, as much of an impediment anymore, but in communities where there's no water and sewer, it becomes, doing any sort of development is very tricky. And typically in what Ken's referring to as a 40B development, which is, a developer can kind of bypass local zoning if they're providing a minimum of 25% of the units as affordable to households at 80% of median or below. But you have to reach some economies of scale. And the issue in these small communities is building 6 units would seem huge to anybody on a single parcel. And if you build 6 units and 25% is affordable, it doesn't yield very much. So you're, by the nature of the beast, have to do something larger, and then it gets really tricky when we don't have water and sewer. As we all know, that's, it's a big problem in, our water issues in Shutesbury are already a big problem. So, and we don't have, building on ledge, it's there are a whole host of reasons that doing new production is tricky. And just to your point, Henry, I just wanted to say, in a cooperative situation, if you had, let's say you had one building, but families were living cooperatively, they didn't have sort of their separate units, you would have to count the income of everybody within that property. So that would put you kind of over income. If you were building, let's say, condos and individual units, then you would just look at the income of that household.
And financing the cooperative would be a nightmare. I don't understand how people get mortgages on their interest if the whole thing is merged.
Yeah,
right. In my practice of law, I had taken things out of co-op in order to make them financeable for the individual owners.
Yeah.
Even though they still lived in a cooperative situation. I think the 40B we have looked at one that where a landowner has land and definitely doesn't have the possibility of really developing it because of the zoning impediments. If he is going to, in essence, give us to develop as affordable a couple or 3 lots or 4, depending on the size, we can then do a kind of a favorable 40B, depending who the developer is. And he's getting a developability of land that was not developable for high-end lots. And that went down a road of possibilities until it hit a dead end. So, but that possibility is out there. Taking a 5-acre piece and building a 6-unit condo is a possibility. Though it requires a whole lot of money and a whole lot of coordination of parties. I do not have a magic bullet. We've been stymied. We did get 5 off the ground because you came in earlier than you, I believe, in the CPC. And also, when we did our program, there wasn't one like this. There was one like this in Eastern Mass and nothing in Western Mass. And I don't know that others are doing that. I hope so, because it's been very successful for us.
Yeah, there's still a number of communities that are doing it. I know Williamstown is one that just immediately comes to mind. I don't know, in the last year and a half as the home sales prices have increased so dramatically, what kind of success they're having, but I'm going to check it out.
I want to be
look
respectful
on
of our,
your-
oh, sorry, Ken. I just want to be respectful of our time because we're coming up on 8 o'clock and I don't want to take up everybody's evening, but this has, I think, been extremely useful, extremely helpful. So thank you very much, Ken.
Yeah,
Any
thank you, Ken.
follow-up? And I apologize again for my tardiness, but I'm here. Thank you much for putting up with me. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, Mateo.
So we're going to move on to that last item on the agenda. And this is just, I wanted to throw this idea out there of whether there's any interest in the committee. And maybe this is a conversation that out of, caution we should have with the full committee present, but whether we want to meet in person instead of via Zoom or hybrid. It is, I'll say from my perspective, it is much more convenient for me to meet via Zoom. But this is now the second time that we've had a meeting bumped or changed because of the lack of Zoom accounts and other committees needing them. So I don't want to ask us to make this decision without the full committee here, though, because I think that as, out of respect, something we want to make sure everybody has a chance to sound off on. But
I will put out there that I think that when we go to the point of having presentations from people who are applying, I think those are very important to have in person, because that way we get a real sense of what they're working on and what they're doing, and we can have some hard copies and everything brought to us. So I would encourage us to at least have our meetings where we're discussing things with applicants be in person.
So would that hold for the next meeting, Elaine, where people are asking questions, or for the?
No,
after
I think after they've submitted their applications,
and-
it's a
okay,
reviewing of
gotcha.
applications. I think we need to do that in person.
Yeah, let's wait for the whole committee.
Yeah.
all right, I just didn't want to surprise you by
No. Thank you.
making a decision unilaterally, but on my mind. Are there any other items of discussion from the committee? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Sure. Oh, Henry, go ahead.
Okay, Geddes,
Aye.
Vallejo,
I
Hanson,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
and Gallo, aye. All right,
Night, everybody. I'll
have a good
give
night.
you some info.
good night. Okay.
Good night.